Hello, everyone. This is Carly, and thank you so much for joining me on a new episode of Crafting with Class. Today, I have a comparison video. I'll be comparing my 4 die-cutting machines as a viewer request. So, these are the machines I'll be comparing and giving you my personal experience working with them. Some I've had for a few months, and some I've had for many, many years. And so, I'll be giving you my pros and cons based on my experience in using them. So first I will be talking about the Diamond Press Marquee. That is the newest one that I've had for about 5 months. So I'll be giving you the pros and cons of that. Then I'll be talking about the Sizzix Big Shot. Now I have the limited edition, special edition Hello Kitty version, but it is essentially the regular Big Shot. And then I'll be talking about the Griffin Empress Mini, which was a workhorse for me, and also the Griffin full-size Empress, and I'll be giving you my thoughts on that one as well. So I wanted to give you kind of a close-up view of the 4 machines I own in size so that you can see the footprint of each machine. So at the top is the Diamond Press Marquee, then the Mini Empress, the full-size Empress, and then at the bottom is my Sizzix Big Shot, so you can see the relative size. So let's start with the Diamond Press Marquee machine. Like I said, this is the newest one to my collection. I was very curious about it because it just looked so easy to use, and it truly is. I was really impressed by the cutting of this machine. It has a rubberized bottom, so it can stick to your surface, and then you can pull on that little side tab and it'll release the suction, and it cranks. So this is not an electronic machine. But it is absolutely amazing in how it cuts. Like I said, I was really impressed. It's very lightweight and it will cut any wafer thin die. So as you can see here, I have lots from different companies and they've all worked with no problem. Now, this machine is based on a folder system and there are different size folders available. And when you purchase any die from Diamond Press, it'll come with a folder, but you can also purchase them separately. Now, you're going to see that when you use these folders, they warp like every single time you use them. But the interesting thing is that no matter how warped they are, they will still cut beautifully and cleanly. Like, I don't even know what kind of witchcraft that is, but it's quite impressive. So these will definitely take a beating, and even if it looks like this one absolutely could not cut, it does. So for my examples today, I'll be using this die because it's very intricate. It has a lot of little parts so that you'll be able to see how it works. So I'm going to go ahead, put a piece of paper or the die inside of the folder, and then I'm just going to put it through the mouth of the machine. I'm going to roll it through, and when you roll this through, it really is effortless. I mean, it's very little effort that goes into rolling it. It's very smooth. It's absolutely quiet. And as when you take it out, I'm going to pop it out of the die, and look, I don't even have to really do much to get it out. Like one little hit and it knocks off any little thing that's left over. The cut is absolutely flawless. So it's a really great machine when it comes to cutting. Now, it will emboss, but this is where I found that results are not very good. You cannot use 3D embossing folders on this machine. It's too thick, but you can use the regular standard embossing folders. Now I'm going to show you what I have found to be true when using this machine. So I've put a piece of cardstock in the embossing folder and I'm running it through the machine. So again, absolutely effortless. Doesn't even feel like you're putting anything through. But when you open it up and you can see that it's very inconsistent embossing. So on the left at the top, it's pretty good, but then towards the left, you can barely see it. And that's what I found to be true pretty much. So the embossing, not that impressive, but the die cutting absolutely is. So it's definitely worth to get it, especially if you go on crops and things like that. Now let's talk about the Sizzix Big Shot. Now this is the one I've had for the longest time, and isn't it so pretty? Now, I've had this forever. I think it was like my second machine ever. It has a very big footprint, so it does take a lot more space than, for example, the Marquee. It has a 6-inch wide mouth, so you can put bigger dies in this machine, and it will take pretty much every or any single die that has been made. And that is something that no other machine can say, at least that I own. So it will take the wafer thin dies, it'll take 3D folders, it will take the regular embossing folders, it will take old Cuttlebug dies. And here's another Provocraft Cuttlebug die. This is a thinlet. This is another type of thinlet. These are the decorative borders. This is another metal die. These are little mini Sizzix that are steel ruled. This is another steel rule die. You can see how old these are. And this is an embosslet, so this will die cut and emboss at the same time. Those will work no problem. You have, of course, the Sizzix Bigs and the Bigs XL, these super long ones. So this die cut machine will literally cut pretty much anything. Now you have a lot of options as far as accessories. You have this extended platform, and then you can get the wafer thin die adapter. There's also, you need, of course, the cutting pads. So these are the extended cutting pads, and you can see they're well loved. And then this is a crease pad that will help the creases show up better, especially like in boxes and things like that. This one is for those decorative long dies, and so that will pass through. And then you have your multi-purpose platform. Some of the machines come with this one, and it has the different tabs for depending on what you're going to do. And then you have your two acrylic plates. One of them is just kind of purpley. Now I bought these Magic Mat and iCrafter mats because it's supposed to replace one of the cutting pads and help it to last longer. And as you can see, I've used them up, but I wouldn't recommend them. I don't think they work really that well, and so it's not something I would recommend. There's also the magnetic platform and also the precision base plate. And this is something I absolutely would recommend because it will absolutely cut through anything, especially super hard things like plastic or acetate, fabric, anything like that. It will cut like butter. And then an embossing mat, of course, and then you have other sizes of plates available. Like I like these little plates when I'm trying to do certain types of cutting. And then these are on the edge plates. And when I have to cut something small, then I'll reach for these instead of the full size plates. So there's a ton of different options with the Sizzix. And as I mentioned, you can use regular embossing folders or 3D embossing folders. So let me show you how this will cut. So I am sandwiching it between on the base, running it through between the two plates. This is much harder to roll, and my machine is old. I will grant it that, but definitely Marquee is so much easier on the shoulder, especially. So as you can see, I'm having a hard time getting it out. It's really stuck in the die, so I need to get my little tool here to release it from the die. And a lot of those pieces are still in it, and even when I flick it, they don't all come out. So I literally have to go through and take my pokey tool and, dislodge them from the die cut. Now, it does cut through the whole thing, no problem. Nothing is, stuck on there, or there is no irregular, cuts where it's cut on one part but not on the other. But the release of all those little chads is the difference. So as you can see, I have to go through and manually poke all of them out. You can also take the little tool, which I do have, and try, get those out a little bit faster, but it's definitely more work with this machine, but it absolutely does the job. and it will die cut just fine. Now, as I mentioned, my machine is super old, but it still does the job, as you can see there. Now, moving on to the Griffin Empress Mini. So this machine is small. It weighs hardly anything. It has 3 physical buttons. So you have the power, the run, and the reverse. It comes with a handle, so it's something that you can take. It's only 5.5 pounds, and the footprint is nice and small. So I really enjoy using this machine. So there you can see it. And the thing about this machine, it is electronic, so you have to be mindful of that. There's a couple of options for plates. So this has a plate system, so just like the other machine, the Sizzix one. Now, as you can see, I've absolutely worn it down. I tend to use 1 plate for cutting and 1 plate at the bottom, and I do rotate the plates, so they get nice even wear. You have a metallic mat and then the metal shim, and those get sandwiched between the 2 acrylic plates. And then there's an embossing pad. Now the second one is a newer option, and that comes with the same pieces, but this is longer, so it'll fit those slimline dies, as you can see. So those are very nice. So I will cut out the same die so you can see how this works. And so you have the magnetic mat, the die, the paper on top, and then the cutting plate. And I have to say, I've had this machine for over a year, and I have not had to change my plates. Now, I'm not a super, I don't craft every day, pretty much on the weekends, but I think that's still impressive. And as you can see, it runs pretty quickly. It's pretty quiet. And I'm sorry, I'm out of frame on here, but the paper comes out pretty easily out of the die. Here you can see me rolling the little tool over the die to release it from there. And sorry, I'm out of frame here, but you'll be able to see it in a moment. So a couple of flicks and all the little chads, all the little pieces pop right out. And so I'll show you right now. So as you can see, perfectly cut and very easy to come out of the die. And so you can do the same thing with these slimline size dies, as you can see here. Now let's go on to the Empress machine. So this is the Empress. This is the full size. You have digital buttons instead of the physical buttons. You still have the handle to pick it up, but this weighs a lot. I think it's about 15 pounds. You have a nice wide opening to feed the largest size dies. Now this is only for wafer thin dies, so it will not, you can't use your like Sizzix Bigs or your Tim Holtz ones, or the the bigs ones in here. So I will show you how this works as well and how it cuts. You have 2 plate choices with this as well. You have the embossing mat, and then you have the same plate thing. You have the 2 acrylic plates, the 8 plates, and then you have the magnetic shim and the metal shim. And as you can see, this is pretty well loved as well. I've actually been very impressed at how well these hold up, the plates. They don't warp, and they hold up really, really well. This is the extra large plates, and these are so awesome when you want to save time and you want to just cut a bunch of things at the same time. This is fantastic for that, and for those extra large dies as well. Those will fit right through there. The only, I guess, drawback for me is that you can't use the Sizzix dies in here. It's just the wafer thin dies. But there you see the 2 sizes for this machine. All right, so let's go ahead and cut. I'm going to use the same little fan die as before. So I will put it on the magnetic mat. It's facing die side up, put my paper on top, and then I'm going to run it through the machine. Now with these dies, so you need to press run You can put the plates in either horizontal or vertically. I'm going to put them in this way so that it'll go through the machine faster. But again, it goes through pretty fast. I don't know if it goes as fast as the Mini, but it definitely goes through pretty fast. I'm going to turn it off just so that I can show you. And as you can see, it came right out. And I'm using the same paper. And so this machine is powerful. It really does a good job. I didn't even have to flick it. I didn't have to do anything. They just fell right out, just like with the Marquee. So very powerful machine. Both of the Empresses really are really great. But, the only drawback is you have to make sure that, you have a cord and it's long enough to connect. And you can use 3D embossing folders and regular folders in this machine. So here are all 4 machines, and as you can see, all the die cuts, die cut perfectly well, some with more ease than others, but they all do the job. And so it's just your choice of how much really you want to spend and whether you want an electronic one or not. Now, what I love about this size machine is you can use these huge dies. So these don't fit in any other machine. They're too long or they're too wide. So I'm just showing you a few that I own that I use in this machine, and it allows me to be able to use them. So the pros and cons, first of the Marquee. According to me, the pros is that it weighs only under 5 pounds. And so that makes it very portable to take to crops, to a friend's house. Excellent cutting. It's a simple folder system. You don't have to mess with, all these cutting pads. It's pretty inexpensive at under $50. The crank handle is easy to use and you don't need to connect to anything. It's ready to go. Now for the cons. You only can use wafer thin dies, so no other type of die. You cannot use 3D embossing folders, and as you saw, it's very inconsistent when it comes to embossing in general, so I don't recommend it for that. The folders definitely don't last as long as the plates, and you are limited in size to 4 1/4 width of dies. Moving on, let's talk about the Sizzix Big Shot pros and cons. So the pros, it takes virtually, I think, any type of die that has been made, and you have the Sizzix name, which to me, it stands for quality. There are so many options for additional accessories to make, virtually any type of project that you want. You get great embossing results in this machine, and you can use all types of dies, folders, stencils, and you'll get great results. You don't need to plug it in, it's good to go, and you can find Sizzix just about everywhere and often on sale. The cons. It is a little bit weighty at 7.5 pounds, and it does have a large footprint, and you can't fold this version to make it less of a footprint, so keep that in mind. You need a little more effort to crank that handle than you do on the diamond press machine. You also have to know all the different sandwich combos, which can get a little bit annoying. And the plates do warp over time. They need to be replaced fairly often, and the price is a little bit steep. I feel it's $137.99 currently, but you can find it on sale, and so there's that. Next, the Griffin Empress Mini. So the pros is that it is definitely a small footprint. It doesn't take up a lot of space. It's a fairly quiet electronic motor. It's very quick and convenient. It's excellent cutting and embossing. The plates last much longer than any other machine I own, and they tend not to warp as they do as for other machines. And at only 5.5 pounds is definitely what I would consider portable, probably at the high end of portable. Now, for the cons. Well, it does need to be plugged in, so you need electricity to run. It's a little bit costly at $170. And again, it only cuts wafer thin dies, and the plates and accessories can be expensive. And you are limited to 4 1/4 inch wide dies for dies or embossing folders. So you need to be on the smaller end of those. Now, for the Griffin Empress, the pros is that it's a large cutting area. It's another quiet electric motorized machine. It is, again, runs quickly. It's very convenient because you don't have to crank anything. Excellent pressure when it comes to cutting and embossing. Again, the plates last a long time and they don't warp like they do in other machines. The cons is, again, it needs to be plugged in, and sometimes the plug doesn't reach depending on where the outlet is, so you'll need to keep that in mind. The price is pricey, so it's $260. Again, you can only run wafer thin dies through this machine, and again, the plates and accessories can be expensive, and it is a little bit weighty at almost 15 pounds. Well, I hope that this has been helpful and helps you to decide if you want to purchase any of these for yourself. So until next time, have a lovely crafternoon. And if you'd like to see any more videos, here are a couple recommendations for me. Bye!